So the manager's seat want me to record a video about an FM WONDERKID, and I don't know any WONDERKIDs. Well, apart from one, the greatest WONDERKID of all time. So in today's video, we're going to look back at the career of Freddy Adu as well as simulate one final season to see how Freddy performs today. Today, the US men's national team is blessed with soccer players such as Sergino Dest, Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic. But 2 decades ago, all of the attention was on a young forward playing Major League Soccer for DC United that legends such as Pelé were heralding as a future global star. However, this was a career that never lived up to the early hype. Adu was born in Ghana but moved to the US when he was 8. His big break came when he starred for the US Olympic Development Program in a tournament containing some of Europe's top academy sides. This alerted MLS to his potential, and they included him in the 2004 MLS Super Draft. At just 14 years of age, this made Adu the youngest American to sign a professional sports contract. He stayed close to home, signing for DC United, and he burst onto the scene, making his full debut for the club on the opening day of the 2004 season. Just 2 weeks later, he would score his first MLS goal. In his 3 seasons with DC, Adu made 87 appearances, scoring 11 goals and being selected for 2 MLS All-Star games, even earning a trial with Alex Ferguson's Manchester United. However, his time was not without controversy, with Adu being suspended internally when he complained about a lack of playing time in 2006. A short time later, DC decided to trade Adu to fellow MLS club Real Salt Lake, making just 11 appearances and scoring 1 goal in 4 months. But after captaining the US team to the quarter-finals of the Under-20 World Cup, Europe came calling for Freddy. Portuguese giants Benfica paid MLS $2 million for the now 18-year-old. And yet, first-team appearances for Adu were hard to come by during his first season with the Lisbon club. In 5 seasons with Benfica, Adu spent 4 of them out on loan. He would appear in just 28 club games during those 4 loan spells. In an attempt to reignite his career, Adu returned to MLS, joining Philadelphia Union in 2011. He played 2 full seasons with the Union and looked to be settled, scoring 7 goals in 35 appearances. But in 2013, Adu was traded for Cleberson with Brazilian club Bahia, and he would play just 37 more games over the next 8 years. After Bahia, Adu had short stints in Serbia and Finland before returning to the US, but MLS clubs no longer came calling. Adu played 27 times in 4 years in Tampa and then Las Vegas, playing his last game and scoring his last goal in 2018. Before joining Swedish third-tier side Österlen in 2020. But the comeback lasted 1 month before his contract was terminated, and his 16-year career produced just 210 appearances. Some claim he turned professional too young, others cite the impact of the pressure of the media attention. Adu confesses himself that distractions led to a poor work ethic. This was a career rich in dollars but light on trophies. But we can't leave Freddy's career there, so if we jump into Football Manager, let's see how Freddy Adu would perform if we were to manage him today. So we've brought Freddy back to where it all began, back to DC United, to see how he might perform if we gave him one more shot at glory. But this is not a remade Freddy Adu. This is not Freddy in his pomp. We've taken the Freddy from the database, who's 31 years old now, to see whether he's still got anything to offer. So if we're to have any hope of giving Freddy Adu one last glorious swan song in soccer, we've had to design a tactic that's going to compensate for some of his pretty significant weaknesses now. Physically, his attributes are clearly on the wane, but there is still hope. The dribbling, the first touch, the passing and the technique all look pretty strong. Freddy would rather be playing out on the left as a winger, but the pace, the acceleration and agility probably aren't quite strong enough to play there in MLS football. Instead, we're going to ask him to be a roving force behind 2 fellow frontmen to see whether Freddy can have an impact on the season. And Freddy has one other important role to play as well. DC United's two best free kick and corner takers are both going to be starting the season outside of the first 11. After them, Freddy is our best bet for swinging in corners and taking free kicks. So we're going to try and give Freddy as much game time as possible, starting with the season opener against New York City FC. Let's see how he gets on. And the early signs might be surprising. We've got a packed house welcoming New York City. It's Freddy Adu's return. They draw 4-4 and Freddy scores all 4 of the goals, playing as a shadow striker. Now, if the rest of Freddy's farewell season is as good as this will be legendary. He scores his first just 5 minutes into his return, slots home a penalty in the 23rd minute, curls home a free kick for his hat-trick in the 44th, and 3 minutes into stoppage time at the end of the first half, he rolls back the year to score DC United's 4th goal. I'm tempted to end the experiment right there. I don't think it gets better than 4 goals on your return and a 10.0 rating. But let's see whether Freddy can keep it up across an entire season. So the answer is no, not quite, but 35 appearances is more than Freddy made in any of his previous seasons as a professional footballer, and he notched up 8 goals and got 6 assists, even though his average rating did fall below a 7, but he did help a DC United side who were predicted to finish bottom scrape their way into the playoffs, where they managed to defeat the highly ranked Atlanta United before bowing out in the conference semi-final to Toronto. So perhaps not the fairy tale ending it looked like we might get after the opening game of the season, but still, arguably, that's Freddy Adu's best season of his career, only in Football Manager. And if you like this video, why not check out this one by Stinger next, as he talks you through the Premier League summer signings to watch out for this season.